So, JAHSHER 9:29, going to make this a little bit bigger. And the Lord knew their thoughts, and it came to pass, when they were building, they cast arrows toward their heaven, and all the arrows fell upon them filled with blood. And when they saw them, they said to each other, surely we have slain all those that are in heaven. Let's read that again. And Elohim knew their thoughts, and it came to pass when they were building, they cast their arrows towards their heaven, and all the arrows fell upon them filled with blood. And when they saw them, they said to each other, surely we have slain all those that were in heaven. For this was from the Lord, in order to cause them to err, and in order to destroy them from off the face of ground. And they built the tower and the city, and they did this thing daily until many days and years were elapsed. So this was a monumentous project, building project, you know, monumentous building project. Took days, years. And Yahuwah said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near to him, saying, come, let us descend. So they're able to come to and fro the firmament. They're able to descend in and ascend up. They have that rite of passage. Come, let us descend and confuse their tongues. When the enemy comes, he always ascends because he's coming up from below. But when the Most High and his people come, they come from above and they descend to the face of the earth. The other side, they ascend from somewhere beneath to the face of the earth. Very interesting. And they said, let's confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. So tongues and language synonymous. And they did so unto them. And they did so unto them. A lot of people come from churchianity and a lot of Pentecostal backgrounds. They see this tongues thing as something that it was never in the first place. It was always a tangible, audible language. And the original tongue was Hebrew, or the original word that was spoken that we see in Jubilees. But that's another story for another day. In fact, we've already touched on that immensely. So you can check out the previous studies on that. Now, let's continue. Yahuwah said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, not in front of him, to those who were near to him, saying, come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man may not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them. And from that day, they forgot each other. And from that day following, they forgot each man his neighbor's tongue. And they could not understand to speak in one tongue. And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime or stone, now lime is very, very interesting. I'm sure lime's a very interesting conductor of electricity. Anyway, which he did not order, the builder would cast it away and throw it upon his neighbor, that he would die. So when somebody put an order through and they messed up the order, they'd throw the brick or the order on the person to make them die. Pretty brutal. But you notice here, there's confusion of tongues on purpose because they were doing something in rebellion against the Most High. When the Most High wants you to come together, he doesn't want any confusion of language. He wants people to be of one accord and of one mind and of one tongue in righteousness. He doesn't deal with the whole confusion thing. But he'll give you the spirit of delusion if you try to go against his will or go against the law. And they did so many days, and they killed many of them in this manner. So everyone who messed up the order through not being able to speak linguistically, or language barriers. That's why we have language barrier. Those who were not able to follow the orders, follow the measurements, requirements, materials, were murdered. And Elohim smote the 3 divisions that were there, and he punished them according to their works and designs. Those who said, we will ascend to heaven and serve our gods, became like apes and elephants. And those who said, we will smite the heaven with arrows, Yahuwah killed them. One man through the hand of his neighbor. And the 3rd division, those who said, we will ascend to heaven and fight against him, Yahuwah scattered them throughout the earth. So these rebellious ones were scattered. And the third division, those who said, we will ascend to heaven and fight against him, Yahweh scattered them throughout the earth. So these rebellious ones were scattered. Some came like apes and elephants, and some were killed by their neighbor's hand. Interesting. They became like elephants and monkeys. Now, they tried to do what to the firmament? What did they try to do to the firmament? How many cubits? How many cubits? Now, the backdrop to this narration that you're about to hear is Baruch. Now, Baruch, he was the scribe for Jeremiah in the captivity of the Babylonians, Nebuchadnezzar and whatnot, what have you. And he was moaning, you know, as we do, moaning about captivity, moaning and just moaning. But we have reason to moan because we're in captivity. It's not a nice thing. But Baruch was generally moaning about what had happened, but he didn't look at the causation behind his people being in captivity, potentially, because he's moaning. Now, when you know why you're in a state, you don't moan because you know you overstand, understand, and overstand. So no need to moan. But anyway, we're human and we moan. Even I moan, you moan, and they moan. So anyway, the angel said to him, stop moaning. I'm going to show you some more things outside of the police brutality. Esau is the white man. All that low level frequency vibration craziness that you're all sidetracked with. I'm going to show you more to the whole scheme of things that you're not even aware of. So it's all right then, cool. Show me what I want. It's all right then, buckle up. So this is what's going to take place, and that's the backdrop behind what you're about to read. This is 2 Baruch chapter 3. Let's continue and let's advance. So. And the angel of Yahuwah took me and led me to the second heaven. And he showed me there also a door like the first and said, let us enter through it. And we entered, being born on wings. Listen, come on guys. You go through a door and you're born on wings. What does that sound like? That sounds like what? It sounds like if you go on the wings, Red Bull, doesn't that give you wings? Red Bull gives you wings. So are we talking about velocity? Are we talking about speed? Or we talk about height. We could be talking about height, or you could be talking about speed. Hermes was the god of messengers in the Greek mythology, and he was known as the what? The god of delivery. So that's where you get ideas from, UPS. Delivery man, that's Hermes. So it could be about travel, fast, speed. Even in Daniel, it likens Alexander the Great to a leopard. And I'm sure it gives him wings, meaning speed, fast. Leopards are quite fast, or cheetahs quite fast. But anyway, you get the point. You get where I'm trying to go by the Most High's grace. Anyway, so a door. Now, what is a door for, guys? What do you use a door for? Use a door to get from one place to another. Use a door as a portal or as a way to get from one place to another. So a door gives access, entrance to somewhere. Let's read it again. And the angel of Yahuwah took me and led me to a second heaven, and he showed me there also a door, like the first, and said, let us enter through it. And we entered, being born on wings, a distance of about 60 days journey. Wow, that's pretty far, isn't it? And he showed me there also a plane. A plane? Could there be more to this flat earth? Who knows? And it was full of men, whose appearance was like that of dogs, and whose feet were like those of stags. And I asked the angel, I pray thee, Adonai, say to me, who are these? And he said, these are they who gave counsel to build the tower. So these dog pedigree chum-faced people were the ones who gave the counsel to build the tower. Interesting. For whom thou seest drove forth multitudes of both men and women to make bricks, among whom a woman making bricks was not allowed to be released in an hour of childbirth, but brought forth while she was making bricks. They were so gassed about making bricks. They were so on this brick thing, had to make bricks. That even when a woman was heavily pregnant, third trimester, leaking fluid, about to drop, whatnot, They said, yo, you can't have no maternity leave. What do you think this is? Maternity leave? 9 months off? You crazy? Get back to work. So anyway, her poor maternity leave self couldn't have maternity leave, and she had to make more bricks. So anyway, she wasn't allowed to be released to have maternity leave, but brought forth while she was making bricks, and carried her child in her apron, and continued to make bricks. So even after she had the before, trimesters and that, had the baby and whatnot, and still had to bring the baby to work. So I don't want to hear people moaning about, I'm only joking, ladies. You can, have maternity leave. In fact, do you know what, in our customs, when a man married a woman, he was allowed to have a year off. So he was allowed to have like a year paternity leave, So that's good, isn't it? Anyway, and he says, but brought forth while she was making bricks and carried her child in an apron. In an apron. Where were we? Apron. Okay. Continued to make bricks, and the Lord appeared to them and confused their speech. When they had built the tower to the height of 463 cubits, and they took a gimlet, not Scooby-Doo what a gimlet is, but probably something sharp. Why do I say it's something sharp? Because they sought to pierce the heaven. They sought to pierce their heaven. I thought it was on a globe, doing a little globe dance. And they took a gimlet and sought to pierce the heaven, saying, let us see whether the heaven, we looked at what heaven meant in Genesis. You translate that as firmament, dome, ark, whatever, glass house barrier. Let us see whether the heaven is made of clay. Let us see whether the heaven is made of clay, or brass, or of iron. Now when Yahuwah saw this, he did not permit them, but smote them with blindness, confusion of speech, and rendered them as thou seest. So now we get more layer to the cake. Jubilees gives you a layer, JAHSHER gives you a layer, Baruch gives you a layer, Genesis gives you a layer. You get the layers together, you get a layer cake. You get an angel cake. How about that? So then, what was in here is the thing that made the Most High say, nah, are you off your rockers? Are you off your maracas? Have you been eating Jacob crackers? Is that they try to pierce the firmament. People have tried to do it now, but the Most High ain't even saying nothing. They're just falling back on them, and Operation Dominic and Fishbowl, been doing these things, and the Most High is like, boy, sir, these postmodern humans who are 6 foot and 5 foot, very unfit, very inactive, retrogress people, they really think they can pop my firmament when these far advanced civilizations couldn't. But anyway, let's continue. Let's advance. So, they tried to do what to the firmament? They tried to pierce the firmament. How many cubits was the tower that was built? According to this account, 463 cubits. Now, if you want to convert that and put that in the comments for everybody, that would be excelente for everybody. Now, there's a film called Hunger Games, or program called Hunger Games. I haven't watched it, I think I'll probably watch the movie when the movie first came out back in the day. I was in Churchianity. We went on Sunday. Imagine that. And the film was a bit weird. There's like a lot of LGBT references and subliminal messages and people Hunger Games and crazy. And even in that, they divide people in sections and stuff. And then we saw earlier that everyone was divided, city against city. Differences against differences. But anyway, let's get back to this. And in this Hunger Games, I think it's Hunger Games that this is taken from, the lady tries to throw an arrow at the firmament, and it just absorbs, I believe. Or you see that the firmament's mechanical, or it's actually digital, or it's not what you think it may be. It's pretty advanced. And it would be, could the Most High put it there. Now, let's continue and let's advance. Oh yeah, and it said the Dogmen people. I was just thinking of Egypt, the Dogmen people in Egypt. I was thinking, Dogmen. Okay, so that's that. Remember before I was saying that there's people that got gravitating towards Egypt and all this kind of folly. And I was saying to you before about, the it symbolized fertility. Man's bits and pieces and a woman's circle. So when they put that around their neck, they're symbolizing life. When you put the cross around when you put the crucifix around when you put the crucifix around your neck, it symbolizes death. But both of them symbols we shouldn't be gravitating towards anyway. But I'm just trying to make people see, think, and understand, overstand, understand. One symbolizing life, you know, even though it's in the most deplorable state. A lot of, you know, that's like an Egyptian play bunny symbol. And the other one is just symbolizing death. Now, no one should walk with a guillotine around their neck and say, oh, you know, just don't really make sense. But that's just to make people think, see, overstand. But I find it interesting that it says that the appearance of the ones who were leading this rebellion and galvanized everyone else to do so, it said in verse 4, men whose appearance was like that of dogs, and those feet were like those of stags. Interesting.